All right, welcome, small group. I'm wondering what happened to all the others. We're supposed to have 31, 32 people here. I don't know what their problem is. They probably didn't do the reading and they're feeling ashamed of themselves. But
Maybe
anyway,
it's because it's so pretty outside.
I don't know. Last time
It's so pretty.
we didn't have a very big group either, so I'm wondering if it's time to regroup on this a little bit. But anyway, so today's May 2nd, and our topics today have to do with integrity, following your heart, telling the truth, um, getting out of your own way, having fun, uncovering some buried dreams, and beginning to build on what you really want. What do you really want? Oh, good. Here's Deb Bartok. I know she wants to be with us, our friend from New Jersey. Hi, Deb. Welcome in. So, I wanted today to be, not so heavy. Please don't worry about the reading at all. I mean, you can get through all of these topics without ever picking up your book. So no shame, no guilt at all. Um, but maybe there was something in the book on this chapter that made you think, made you ponder, made you want to create something. Um, I want to recommend that everybody here check out this amazing interview that I heard yesterday. And maybe I'll just start out telling you about it. I'm a big fan of Tim Ferriss blog, and he wrote the 4 Hour Work Week. He's a man. He's a 40-something-year-old man. He seems so different than me, but yet I think what I really like about him is he's curious about human potential, very curious. And he's also struggled with things like depression and anxiety big time. And he's currently single. He broke up, so I think he's in this process of hoping to find a woman. He's a dog person, so that's what we have in common. But he interviews the most amazing people on his podcast. I think he's very brave. He just reaches out to people and see if they'll talk to him. And the current interview that I just heard is with Martha Beck. And Martha Beck is probably best known as being Oprah's life coach. So if you've ever watched Oprah Winfrey, or I don't know, also Oprah Magazine, Martha Beck has written a column in her magazine forever. Now, Martha Beck to me never really seemed that great. Like she seemed a little too, I don't know, she's just too uptight, straight-laced kind of lady. At least that was my impression of her. But I liked him. I'm like, I wonder what she's going to talk about. And I hadn't read Martha's current book or anything she's done lately. Wow, what an interview about telling the truth, which goes along with our chapter. So apparently, Martha Beck made a decision a couple of years ago to not to always tell the truth about everything for a whole year, 365 days. And part of that truth required her to leave the Mormon church. Her husband or her father is like one of the leaders in the Mormon church. And I guess if you leave the church, like your whole family disowns you. She did that. She also came out as gay after she'd been married for many years, had a couple kids, came out publicly about that. And just started doing radical things that were in her heart that she'd been like lying about. And she holds many Harvard degrees. I mean, she is really smart. But one of the things that happened is she almost died right before all this happened. She was teaching somewhere and she suddenly was like hemorrhaging inside, and she went for a surgery, and she explains the surgery and how this light came to her and touched her. And it's like it broke her open, and she sees the world in a whole new way, as everything is beautiful and fine, and that she can be herself, her unique, true self. But I mean, I think about as a public person and all the things she went through and all the hate stuff that she encountered on social media. But yet, as we listen to her, we also find out that she has this really special friendship with a guy in South Africa who leads safaris, using intuition to track different species of animals. at this wildlife place, and how she developed this relationship with him that also Tim knows this guy too. So now I want to learn about this wildlife tracker. So anyway, I urge you to listen. I gave you the link in the email, and if you haven't heard it. So she does an exercise. And that's what I thought we'd do today. We do the exercise she leads Tim in, because there is a purpose to it and it fits. So does everybody have some paper?
Mhm.
Okay. There are no right or wrong answers to this. So I'm going to tell you, you don't have to share your answers, but don't lie. Okay. So this is getting in touch with your senses and delicious, wonderful things that you believe about life. Okay. So so you're going to write 3 things for each of the categories I give you. So let's make it easy. It's around lunchtime. So I want you to write 3 delicious foods that you can even imagine eating right now that make life wonderful. So write those down. Whatever comes to your mind first. And if you say only 3, that's not fair. Well, you can keep that list going after we're off the call. Okay. So just write 3 things down. All right. The next thing, we're going to get in touch with your sense of smell. What are 3 aromas? Things that you've smelled in the past or would love to smell right now, or would even seek out with your nose, that create a pleasant, wonderful feeling inside of you when you smell them. Anything. So one of the things they were talking about, the smell of babies or puppies. They were really going on and on in that interview about babies and puppies. And then someone said, someone loved the smell of their dog's feet. I don't think so. Yeah. But anyway, we're all different. Yeah. My list includes really good coffee smell. I love the smell of coffee. I think I love the smell of coffee more than I like the taste. So sometimes a food can have a smell, and then you've got double categories. Okay, so everybody's got their 3 smells. All right, let's go with something you love to feel on your skin or feel with your body. Anything, 3 things that I know. Crystal, you're coming in here kind of late, so you might have to, we're doing a little exercise, connecting to our sensory enjoyment. How much 3 things we love to feel on our skin or experience on our body. Delicious experiences we can have with our physical body. Okay. And you're welcome to write more than 3, but for the sake of time, just 3. All right. Next, we're going to go into our sense of sight. 3 things that just blow your mind when you see them in some way, that are so delightful to see. So go back in all your memory banks. Might be landscapes, people, faces, colors. All right, you got it? All right, the last one has to do with your hearing. Some sounds that make life delicious for you. whatever they are, 3 different sounds or things you hear. All right, now that you have those all written down, just survey your little lists below. And I want you to draw a circle around the list you like the best of all those lists. If there's a certain sense or a certain list of stuff that you really like the best, claim it. And if you can't decide, if you want to make a circle around everything, you're allowed to. Because it's your truth, okay? There are no wrong answers to this unless you lied. If you wrote down what you think you were supposed to say, make an X through it. Or what your mother would tell you to write down. Yeah, make sure it's your voice. And then as you look at that one you circled, maybe write a little sentence about what that tells you, about your truth. What does that tell you about your truth? Or maybe you want to look at all of it. Are there some common themes there? Where are all these experiences taking place? Did they all happen when you were in your 20s? Are they all things that happen in June? Are they all things that happen outdoors, indoors, away from home, at home? So just notice what your own list tells you about what you're yearning for, longing for, love. What you yearn for, long for, or love. That is truth. That is truth to be observed and honored. Because all that truth you just wrote down is your path for tracking joy. So remember I talked about Martha Beck's story about learning a whole lot of stuff from this guy who tracks wild animals. You know, oftentimes there aren't actual tracks to follow, but there's this intuition, or there's, you know, are you getting warmer? Or are you getting colder? Are you on the path? And these things you just wrote down are kind of signposts for where you're going to find your fun and your joy, and also how you furnish your palace of possibilities. It's also possible that it's inspiring maybe some artist dates, some things you can write about, some things you still want to learn, still want to do, still want to accomplish, no matter how old or young you are. So I know we got a couple of people in this group. There was an exercise about describe your life at 80. And a couple of you are like, Barb's past 80. How do you write that exercise? You're already past it. You are our teacher. You are our teacher about that. I know, but it's so cool that we have you with us, a young person that's above 80. I love that. I want to spend more time learning from you. Okay, so time to share, time to, go around the circle and see what came up. What are you learning about yourself, or what are you curious about now, having done that exercise? Do I have to call on you, or just unmute yourself and talk? Yeah,
Have to pursue more of it, because I need more direction, and I need to know. I'm trying to focus on where to spend my time and how to make the most of it. So now I've got a list of the things that I like, and I can direct myself and try to make those things happen. The one that I circled of the most was under the taste category, which I listed pineapple, chocolate, and Italian pasta with sauce, which I'm diabetic, so I avoid Italian stuff forever. But the reason is because that's the most easily accessible of all of the things that I listed with the different senses. Like some of the under scent, they're only available certain times of the year. And under feelings, I pick things that are mostly only available certain places of the world and certain times of the year, and everything else fell into that category. So of these, I have the most control over taste, but that's not actually the best place to be because you can't just go around eating pineapple all day, every day. And Hawaii came up twice, and pineapple's from Hawaii. So the answer is I need to get back to Hawaii.
Yeah. But there's, so you remind me, one of my favorite scents, believe it or not, which will seem so crazy, is I love that suntan lotion that smells like pina colada. And actually, when I had my babies, I made my husband rub it all over me while I was during childbirth. And it just reminds me of the beach. I haven't even seen that kind of suntan lotion in the store. I need to get it. But there's something about that pina colada smell that is just so wonderful. It made my top 3.
Yeah, I just bought a new lip balm that has sunscreen in it because there's only a few lip things that you can get with sunscreen, and it's by Beach Bum, and I think it has that scent you're talking
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
and it's good for you. So look
Yeah.
for it.
Mm-hmm. So how about the rest of you? Let's hear some more good stuff. I want it to enliven all of us.
I'll go. I'm already unmuted.
Okay.
The one I circled is the sounds, and it was waves crashing, birds singing, and music. And what I thought about with that was that they're all ways for me to relax and unwind and be closer to nature. But I also realized that they're all tied to like warmer months, because the spring, the summer and stuff, because in the winter I just feel like ugh. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely like this season too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we have access to those sounds all year round now with internet and sound files and everything. Plus our memory. I mean, every experience we have, we can hold it here. We don't forget, especially if there's an emotion attached to the memory, a happy feeling. It's there. It might be a little buried under there. So you're going to love the retreat. Plus we have sound bath, right, Annette? Thanks to you. You found us the sound bath girl. You'll have waves. Even if the weather's bad, there will be waves.
I got to do that at Becky's house, and it's on the lake, so we heard the waves crashing and stuff. So I am looking forward to doing that like that.
Yeah.
That was fabulous.
Yeah. So the other thing about sound bath too, June 12th, we've got an event up at Brattonall, and I've got Jess is coming back to do sound bath up there at the lake, and hopefully we'll be outside. We'll have lunch. We got a lot of, I haven't published the date and the details yet, because I'm still trying to figure out what we're going to do for lunch that day, and I don't have a price yet. So keep watching the calendar. I'll get on it. I promise. Next week, hopefully. All right. So what else? Come on. I want to hear from more. Roseanne, you're not on mute. Tell us what's going on with you. We love you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. The thing that I wrote, the sentence I wrote is, from looking at all these things, I'd say I'm pretty well balanced with my senses from childhood to present day. Because it involves everything from hot fudge sundaes to lavender,
Mhm.
So I see not a particular time. Well, the music was from the 60s and 70s. I love that music,
Mhm.
it puts me in such a good space. And sometimes sad, but it also mostly puts me in a good space.
Mhm.
So yeah, this was an interesting little segment.
Yeah. Well, you can do this for each month of the year. Like right now, we're in May. You could put your top 3 list of everything just for May together. Because when you think about seasonal food, you think about the colors, your favorite perennials or your favorite annuals that you see at the garden center. I mean, you can just start doing this as an exercise of daily noticing, like, I love that. I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Not so
that's
much.
interesting.
And then walk away from it. Okay. Just notice what you love. You know, having come from Charleston this week and seeing all these beautiful things and the marketplace and architecture, you know, and the smell of jasmine. To me, Charleston is jasmine. And it's only blooming 3 weeks of the year. I didn't realize. I thought jasmine's always there. Well, I always go the same 3 weeks. So in my mind, Charleston is jasmine. Now I know better, thanks to one of my tour guides. All right, Barb, you're not muted. You tell us what's on your list.
Yeah,
What are you learning?
I unmuted. I
Mhm.
feel like I have a kindred with Roseanne. So
Mm.
many things. I mean, after reading her book and then even her putting up the music of the 60s and the 70s and saying lavender, those are the things I have on my list. Is that amazing or what?
Oh, wow.
Well,
It's scary, isn't it?
you guys
It's
are
scary.
roommates for the retreat.
Yes, we've
So
got
you'll
so
get
much in common. It's crazy. Mine, I did select the site because, like, I walk my dogs every morning, just like you do, and I just love looking up at the sky. You don't know what you're going to see every morning, and it's a beautiful scene every morning. It's unexpected, so I don't know what that says about me. The same with the ocean. When I'm by the ocean, seeing the sunset or sunrise, that to me, the sight is very, very important. And just seeing my new great grandbaby last night. She's just 4 months old. Well, I've seen her before, but I
Mhm.
hadn't seen her in a month. So in 1 month, the beautiful sight of
Wow.
seeing great grandbaby. She's so
Mhm.
cute. Oh God.
Mm.
So
Congratulations.
yeah, those are wonderful sights. So that's why I chose sight.
Mhm. Well, you'll lead us to some good sights at the retreat then too. Will you be our eyes for us? And actually, I'm with you about sunrises and sunsets and skies. I'm really like I'm a sky girl. Yeah, even when
Uh-huh.
even when the sky's not so good, I'm always looking like, where is that
Mhm.
little pinch of blue or a little sunrise coming through those clouds? Yeah. All right, let's hear from, how about Deb? What's going on with you? Your teeth okay? Everything good with your
Yeah,
dental work now?
yeah, they're here. They're present and accounted for. I did have a dry socket. So when I saw the oral surgeon, he fixed it, put me on Cipro, and I am improving. Thank you. All right, so two things. I did want to talk a little bit about that exercise. Talking to myself now from 80, and my big takeaway from that was. Focusing on attaining my health, prioritizing it, and recognizing that no one else can do anything for me, that it's only me who can do for me. And I had really been very self-deprecating toward not getting my degrees, and thinking, oh, I'm 74 and I'm not going to be able to, get my degrees and whatnot. And then a voice came to me and said, but Deborah, you have a PhD in Deborah. And that's all you need. You don't
Yeah.
need a PhD in nursing. You don't need to be a nurse practitioner. You don't need to have those letters after your name because they're not going to mean anything. But your soul says, we've got a PhD in Deborah, and that's the most important. So that was one of the big things I got from that writing. And the exercise we did was hearing. It's really important for me to listen to others. It's what I really do best. So my sounds were coffee perking on the stove, my daughter's belly laugh when she tells a joke, boat horns out in the ocean and coming into the causeways, and train tracks and trains on tracks and whistles, train whistles. And then I felt that all of that tied me with everything else to heart coherence, in that everything hit my mitochondria all at once. And so everything is bebopping and bouncing around with the 60s music inside of, but it's bouncing and touching everything, so that all of the senses are jammed in there. And I'm smelling plumeria as I'm hearing the train whistle because I was in Hawaii and, whatever. it just all melds together. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. I like to hear life lived out loud. Yeah.
Yeah. Great reflections for us. And I'm glad your tooth is better now too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we still need to hear from Bonnie and Crystal. I know Crystal's driving. Bonnie, why don't you go first? Anything you want to share? I know you came in kind of in the middle of the exercise.
Yeah, I guess I circled sight and sounds, and all of them had to do with nature. Whether it was like a tulip field in Scandinavia, which I haven't seen in person, but I know I've seen pictures of them, and they're just amazing. The ocean and sunset. And then sounds like the oceans, the nighttime insects or crickets, and the sounds of birds as well.
Yeah, isn't that wonderful this time of year when we can hear them at 5 a.m., sometimes at 4:30. They're getting up very early.
They're getting up early.
Yeah, they want us to be up with them, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Bonnie. And I hope, we can create from these lists more stuff in our life that reflects it. We can find it, multiply it, keep the window open a little more often, something like that. All right, Crystal, have you stopped the car? Are you able to talk to us?
I didn't make it to the park yet, but I'm trying. I was thinking mostly the sound and the sight seem to be the two things for me. Under sight, I had sunsets, waterfalls, and my kids. And under sound, it was music, waterfalls, and laughter. I think it's the things that really help me to feel peaceful, to appreciate life and love and all of that.
Yeah. So all of these things are your medicine. So think of it as your medicine cabinet, okay? The medicine of integrity, the medicine of who you are, the medicine reflecting the PhD in you, right? So I would invite everybody to expand that list. And when you listen to the interview with Martha Beck and Tim, she takes him through the exercise. The other thing she talks about in her interview with him is how the cure for anxiety, what she believes the cure for anxiety is creativity and curiosity, those two things. She said that you cannot be anxious when you are creating, that it's impossible because it uses the part of your brain that would otherwise be having the anxiety. Like it interrupts your anxious part. And being curious instead of anxious. So even asking questions. So then they talked in the interview. I'm just going to take you guys off road. I'm going to take you off of Artist Way because we already read this stuff. And so how many people here have done something called The Work by Byron Katie, or heard of the 4 questions that Byron Katie asks?
Yeah.
So
Quite a while ago.
yeah, I've done it before and then I come back to it, but in Martha Beck's interview, she brings it up. In fact, she is good friends with Byron Katie, and she tells the story about how as an old person, Byron Katie met her future husband and how they met for the first time reluctantly and ended up getting married after they met. It's a very interesting, I don't know, about very spiritual people that just came together and like the fireworks went off and these two people ended up together. I'm like, So Byron Katie, if you read a little bit about her background, she was depressed, very depressed, and maybe even almost suicidal. And she had this experience of awakening. I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but it's kind of similar to what happened to Martha Beck. during the surgery where she had this out of body experience and almost died. And then the light came to her and everything was fine after that. So Byron Katie got this, these 4 questions given to her to always ask yourself if something's not feeling right or something's hard. So maybe each of you can think of a negative thought that you might have had this week. Like it might be something as simple as I'm not good enough. I don't like my body, or my body is awful, or I don't know, or this is an impossible situation, or whatever I do isn't good enough for so-and-so, whatever might be going on in your world. Okay. So don't pick too many things, just pick one thing. So she asks you to journal about these 4 questions, whatever it is that's bugging you. So I'll give you the questions. So the first question is it true? So whatever you just thought. And again, we're talking about integrity. Sometimes we're really hard on ourselves. Just pause for a second and say, is it true? The second question, can you absolutely know it's true? So is there some way to test the truth, verify the truth of what you believe? Oh, that's interesting. Because sometimes we create our own little problem in our head, but there's no way to really test it. Could be totally wrong. Okay. The next question is, how do you react? What happens when you believe this thought? How do you react? What exactly happens when you believe this thought? So you might have a physical feeling, you might withdraw, you might get angry, you might, I don't know, you might clean house. You might avoid stuff. You might go for a walk. All right. And the last question, who would you be without this thought? Who would you be without this thought? So imagine the magic fairies come and take that thought away. So sometimes people are even more secure with their awful thoughts than they are without them. Sometimes those awful thoughts or beliefs keep us safe in some way. So I think that's what she's getting at too. Can you be safe? Can you be safer? Can you be happier or more in love with yourself without this thought? So what do you think? I would encourage you to just play with these, as things come up, even as you're journaling, to play with those 4 questions with what's going on in your head on a good day and a bad day. Like sometimes it just depends on what kind of mood you're in. Now you could also take positive thoughts, I suppose, and run it through the same test, right? Because sometimes people are delusional. It's like, I could do anything. Is that true? No. Right? So I'm curious, anybody want to share what they ran through the questions about? Or
I had a very interesting, I had a realization with something that happened this week. I had changed my mind about the memorial that I was going to do, and I'm not going to do it this year. And I texted my stepdaughter to tell her that I was very sorry, but I changed my mind and I would, do this on the anniversary. And she didn't answer me. She didn't answer my text. And that was Tuesday last week. So by Sunday, I thought, well, I'm going to call. And it was Sunday evening, and my daughter that lives with me was at her part-time job, and I was lonesome. And I thought, well, I'll call Tammy, and she loves her daddy and I loved her daddy, and we can talk. And I called about 7:30 and on her cell phone, and her husband answered the phone and said, she's sleeping. I said, oh, okay, well, let her know I called. And that's all he said.
Mm.
So from there, I went to, in my head, she's pissed with me.
Mhm.
She's obviously doesn't, understand, blah, 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 went through all of that. And then my head took me to, oh, she must have read my book and she doesn't like what I said in there.
Mm.
And took that and went all into all of this. And of course, by then I was like, became very defensive. So on Monday morning, when I still hadn't heard from her, I texted again and I said, I'm very sorry that you are upset with me and that I have hurt you, however I've hurt you. I said, I wanted to talk to somebody who felt about your dad the way I do. And I said, but I won't bother you again. And I let it go. And she texted me back and said, I didn't know you called until this morning.
Mhm.
My husband didn't tell me.
Mhm.
I was sleeping. And I should have called you last week. And I'm very sorry that I didn't. And I thought to myself, wow, what a rabbit hole my head took me down.
Mhm.
And what I created in my head that wasn't true.
Mhm.
So that was a real realization for me. She probably doesn't even know I wrote a book, much
Mhm.
less what I said in it.
Mhm.
I kept telling myself, but what I wrote was true. Everything I wrote was true. It was my story.
Mhm.
But it's just interesting that we do that we
Yeah.
can take such instead of just saying, I don't know what's going on with her, just give it time,
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and
Just
you
interesting.
are going through a challenging time, with such a recent loss and adjusting to that. Everything in your life is really, I
Yeah.
don't know, it's still up in
Yeah.
the air. You're trying to find your new way of moving forward,
Forward, right.
but you're still, you got to go with what you're going through.
Yeah, that's true. But I do think that we all do this. We
Mhm.
take off in our head and create stories that don't
Mhm.
exist. And that's why the question, can I absolutely know if it's true? Because many times we don't.
Mhm. Yeah. And also getting in touch with the peace that you might have if that thought really isn't true. Like, who would I be without this thought? I would be peaceful.
Yeah.
Maybe I could get more done. Maybe I could,
Right.
I could actually, reach out to somebody and have a good day or whatever. Yeah. 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 Oh, and by the way, Roseanne and I had lunch together last week. Wasn't it last week? We went to Home Goods.
Yeah.
She introduced me to Home Goods. I had no idea that can be an artist date.
It's always an artist date for me.
Yeah. Yes. And tried a new place. So Condado's is very good. And if you're ever in
Yes.
Strongsville, I took my husband there after we were there because I liked it so much. It's very good. All right. So any other comments about the truth or anything else in the chapter? I mean, I'd love to know what struck you. What's true?
I totally connected with what Roseanne said, because I've done that as far as not hearing from somebody and assuming that they're upset with you and then finding out later that they weren't, and you had this whole thing made up in your head. So I'm loving these questions. I'm gonna have to play around with them and see where it takes me.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think, as women, we're so hard on ourselves, like society's pressures on us and, what is a good woman? And, what do you have to do to be, I guess, the matriarch of your family in some way? What's involved in that? Whether it requires cooking, being a hostess, or cleaning something. Ugh. Like all of that is that my truth? I didn't put anything on any of those lists about cleaning. Did anybody? No.
Wow.
That must be why I've been paying somebody else to clean for me for all these years. I am in my integrity. It's just not my thing. Yeah. All right. Let's hear from you some more. Got a few more minutes. So let's talk about maybe the forbidden joys exercise. What would you try? What are you willing to try that's maybe a little risky or dangerous? Did you write anything down? Or what your mother would tell you never to do, but you want to try it anyway? Or things you want to own? That's a fun one.
I want to jump from a plane.
Seriously?
Yeah, I have for a long time.
Well, I put it on the list. Figure it out. Would you do a tandem jump? Like,
I would do tandem, yes.
yeah, not just by yourself.
Not by myself. I'd be afraid I would freeze on pulling the cord.
So is part of this a death wish? Or is it just
No.
Yeah. Okay, who else here wants to skydive besides Roseanne? Because you could go together. It won't be me. I have no desire to do that. I'd probably pee my pants or something. So
Zip lining is close
ziplining.
enough for me.
Have you done zip lining before? Everybody done zip lining?
Mm-mm.
That's a good test for you, Roseanne, to see if you
That would be,
you
yes.
resonate with,
I love zip lining. I've done that many, many, many times. So yeah. it was
So if you
wonderful.
want to try that, Roseanne, while we're at Geneva, they have a small zip line at the lodge at Geneva.
Oh,
I
really?
did that one.
You can go
I
over
did
the
it.
top of that. It's an easy one compared to like Hocking Hills is a really pretty scary one, I think. I've done that
I
one.
was looking at the one by the resort,
Yeah.
and I don't know that the full thing is going to be open at the time we're there. I think a
Oh.
portion of it is open.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. Deborah, were you going to say something?
No, I'm with Roseanne. Yes, I'd love to do a tandem skydive. One of the biggest things that I would absolutely love to do is to be flown into the exact North Pole and stand where time is equal in all directions.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Yeah, the absolute true north. Yeah, you got to be flown in. People have done this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I don't know if I'll get there, but it would be,
Yeah.
it's just the experience of, to me, it's like time stands still there.
Yeah.
Time is it's all time everywhere all at once.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather have a new couch.
I think you could have couches for how much that would cost.
I know.
You could have a whole castle. It really was fun dreaming like that. It was fun being a kid and just putting things down, especially on the wish list. Just being a little, oh wow, I wish this, that, and the other thing. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. It brought me a lot of joy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you can imagine, if
Get
you
out of that
imagine it in your head, you can start having the feelings that go with it, which is actually how you turn that magnet on to attract the real experience. You get in touch with it in your senses and your emotional state. And even if it doesn't, you get some of the goodies of being there mindfully with it and getting it on paper. And I would challenge everybody, if you haven't done this, making the lists of dreams and buried dreams and image files and things you want to own, make the list and put it in an envelope and revisit it 6 months from now and see what's there. Because I've been doing this at Artist Way for a long time, so I have a lot of notes in my book and stuff that I wrote over the years. And most of the things that I wrote that I wished for, I got. And the things that I wished for that probably weren't like completely aligned with what was really inside of me, or they were, I don't know, they were false wishes, I think, but they were kind of should wishes. They were like business related wishes that were a little more extreme than what I really wanted to do. I think those didn't happen, but almost everything else did. So
Could you say again who the podcast was done by? It was Tim, and I didn't catch his
So
last name.
Tim Ferriss, Ferriss. And in the last email to you on the sidebar, there's a link, so you can go straight to it.
Oh.
Okay.
Alrighty.
It's really worth doing. So even if you're out doing your gardening or whatever, put that podcast on. You just lost my phone. Someone, oh, there it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I did listen to the one with Sally Field last time you talked to us.
Yeah, and I listened. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus has a couple new ones out. I just listened to the one with Patti Smith today. Oh my God, that was interesting because I'm not a big fan of Patti Smith, but now I am, having heard that one. And what's really cool about that one, if you believe in intervention from the other side, it was such a powerful discussion. Every time they got into something spiritual and deep about death, I don't know, like anytime the emotional intensity, like loving, wonderful things they were talking about, their kids or whatever, they lost their Zoom connection. And they lost the Zoom connection like 8 times during this interview. And it always happened at this moment where there were really big heart feelings going on. And Julia gets so upset. And Patti is just like, she's very level, calm. She's so chill. And, and she talked about her life as a rock star, how she just decided to cut her hair off and look like the guy from the Rolling Stones. She never did drugs. I mean, she was just like a straight-laced person, but she was so creative.
Yeah.
And so spiritual. Like she's just a Zen lady. I really admire her. And there's a good interview with Bonnie Raitt. Who else did she interview? I mean, there's just really, really cool ladies that she talks to. You get a good sense of all this wisdom.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Thank you for taking us on this journey and for doing sidebars and introducing us to so many other avenues of learning and people and podcasts and wow, there's just much out there.
So I also have to say the book by David Brooks, How to Know a Person. Oh my God, I love him too. So if you have a chance to listen to that audiobook, I got it through Libby. So I don't have to spend a gazillion dollars to get all my books. I get them on the Libby app. But David Brooks, you might have heard of him. He's kind of like a political reporter on NPR. He's actually he's a conservative, but he's a very open-minded journalist, and I'll just warn you, if you like Trump, he doesn't like Trump. So he's very clear about that. But he is so, he's realizing how shut down even he was most of his life. And he studied people that really are good at getting to know others and who are very curious. This word curious keeps coming up. And, as a trainer training other mental health people, I'm always urging my practitioners to be curious, not anxious, not worked up about how they're going to work with a client, but just be curious, just show up and meet them where they're at and, just figure out what's going on inside the person, what it's like to be the other person. So those of you guys that are going on the retreat with me, we're going to do an exercise at the retreat. And actually, it might be an exercise you'll want to take home with your people back home. And it's like really deep questions. So we'll have a little bag. Maybe we'll sit around the campfire and you'll pull from the bag a deep question that you've got to answer. And if you don't like the question, you can put it back in the bag. You don't have to take the first question to get, but maybe you're supposed to, because that's how the divine order works. And so David has some good deep questions in the book. If you're trying to have a conversation, then you want to get below the surface with somebody.
Betsy, I was going to mention that Carol Burnett was another one that she interviewed. That was
Yeah.
very interesting.
I loved that. Well, to
Oh.
know that Carol Burnett does Wordle every day. I do Wordle every
Yeah.
day.
Wow.
Me and Carol do Wordle, and so does Julia too. So now we have something in common with Carol. So is anybody watching Palm Royale with Carol Burnett? She's in it with Kristen Wiig. So you got
What
to
is
have Apple TV, but
Oh.
but it's worth getting Apple. Sometimes if you haven't had Apple TV before, you can get Apple TV for a month for free or a week or something. But Palm Royale, especially you ladies from the 60s that really like the 60s, the hair, the outfits, and it takes place in Palm Beach, Florida, these rich people. And they're just so awful, these rich folks. But it's just a cool show to watch. It's fun.
What's it called again?
Palm Royale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's a story of a gold digger lady married to a pilot who the pilot's aunt is like a really high, she's a billionaire or whatever in West Palm Beach, who was always kind of the head of the social scene. And she's dying, or she's an invalid. So, they come in thinking they're the heir to all the everything. And they find out they're probably not, but they get themselves set up as conservators of Carol Burnett's property and everything. And they're just like spending money right and left and writing bad checks and
Oh my God.
it's just about all the slimy people at the country club and how this Kristen Wiig character is just trying to get in with the in people. And nobody likes her because she really isn't one of them. But she's having this big party. She's doing some sort of big ball at her great aunt's house. So it's interesting. It's the ridiculous things people go through that aren't in their hearts. They're just trying to be. I don't know, they just want to be accepted and loved and secure. They want to be safe, loved, and secure. But they do ridiculous things that get them in a lot of trouble. So. So where do we go after this chapter? I haven't looked ahead. So what would help everyone engage more in this stuff? Do you want more off the road stuff that's related? Like what we did today?
Yeah, that was
Oh,
good. That
yeah.
was good.
Yes. All the chapters aren't tied to a chakra, are they?
Yeah, but I just threw that
know.
in. They're not really, Julia never intended it that way. That's
Right.
just how I see it. Because
Okay.
you start at the beginning and they move up the system. So guess what the next chapter is going to be? Throat.
Money.
Throat, voice. Speaking up, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, all the chakras apply to all the chapters, really. I mean, we're complete beings. It's not like we're just little slices, right?
Right. Right.
But it is interesting to think about your whole system too, where, in your body, where do you have the problems? Or where do things get shut down and blocked? I mean, some people, it's speaking up and they have issues with their neck and their throat and their thyroid gland. Like, that's interesting. Or the people that have the headaches all the time, you know, third eye, vision, holding too much in your head and not using your heart. So there are a lot of concepts energetically. And then there's the stomach, the solar plexus area. The people that have tummy trouble are often worrying, you know, they don't follow their gut, maybe. So that can be part of it. I don't know. It's all metaphor, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Just keep asking yourself, is it true? Is it true? Can you absolutely know it's true? Just because you read it in a book doesn't even mean it's true. If some authority says it, is it really true?
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. So learn more about Byron Katie. I gotta look into her more current stuff because you know that interview
Yeah,
talked about this
been a
man
while.
that she met and she ended up marrying him. He asked for a meeting with her, and she's like some sort of guru. You know, she's been a guru since like the late 80s is when she had her awakening. And so she agreed to see him. And apparently she said the only way she would see him if they could sit together quietly and just look into each other's eyes for an hour. That's what she permitted him to do. And they looked at each other's eyes in an hour. And at the end, she was in love with him. And he said, well, I have to go back to New York or whatever. And she said, no, you don't. And then apparently they got married. Like, that's just a bizarre story. Well, listen to it yourself. But now I'm wondering,
Yeah.
I want to hear it from the perspective of what really happened, not the way Martha Beck tells it. But it just sounds
Mhm.
incredible.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Any
All
other
right.
comments?
Betsy, thank you for your leadership and your inspiration. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm having a really good month. I have to say, maybe it's because it's spring, but whatever I did changing my diet and my my weightlifting, it's just like, I don't know, I'm just feeling very healthy and like more of a clear channel for whatever. I think I also realized I'm at a new stage in my career or my business now too. You know, I've always wanted to be a leader, but now I'm leading for the next generation. I'm not trying to build an empire at this point. I'm trying to create an empire for the next ones coming through, which is a really good place to be. I think maybe that's where most of us are anyway. You know, like how can we help those next ones? How can we make it better for the ones coming in behind us? You know, and for me, it's like for the next EFT practitioners, the young ones coming in, what can I do now to make their practices stronger, to make what I know even stronger too? And I don't have to do research studies or anything, but I can be a spokesperson, you know, for the industry, and I can make sure the ethics are good and things like that. Yeah. But believe me, Mary, I am having fun. And that's one thing I'm committed to. And this chapter is about having fun. Do something fun today. If you're not sure what's fun, get your little journal out and look at those lists of things you wrote down and find one place you could experience it away from your house. Okay. And if it doesn't work out, come back to me because I can give you a whole list of fun. So May is my favorite.
I'm listening to a book that I got this morning that I started listening to while I was walking Mandy, and it's called Sorry for Your Loss by Michael Cruz King, a comedy show.
Oh, really?
It is very funny. It's also very sad in there, but he keeps you laughing. And I'm really, really glad that I got it. Sorry for Your Loss, a comedy show.
Good for you. That sounds like fun. Any
It
other
is.
any other books you guys are recommending? Any fun
Yeah.
Unread?
Before We Were Yours. Oh my gosh, such a good book.
And that's a fiction?
All the light.
It's got a lot of truth in it, but
Mhm,
it is a work of fiction. Before We Were Yours.
mhm.
All the light you cannot see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't read, the movie is incredible. Very well done.
I-
And I think that's on Netflix or one of those available now
Yeah.
too.
Listening to it, and I love the different voices and hearing it. To me, it's a story, and so listening to books lately has been my thing. I'm
Mhm.
absolutely
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and Demon Copperhead, if you haven't read that yet.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that.
Yep. That's still one
And-
of my faves. King
And that
Solver's.
one, I just finished the one by Deborah or Jodi Picoult about the elephants.
Yeah.
Stay. That was really good. That's an older one of her books, but Jodi Picoult, excellent writer.
Yeah. And Kristen Hanna, The Women, I'm on
Oh,
hold for
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's
you-
excellent. Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
Barb read my copy. I have the copy back from Barb, so if anybody wants me to bring it to the retreat, I can pass it on.
God, I was going to that retreat.
I know. I'm sorry.
Next-
Maybe next time. No, I'm noticing it's after 1 o'clock, so I guess it's time to wrap up. So just remember our next one online is June 6th. June 12th is
right.
a live gathering at Bratnall, so watch for those announcements. Keep sharing what you're doing with other people. I don't know if you're still working with a buddy on this, but I'm wondering what happened to the buddies, whether we need to reassign buddies or whatever. And if you're
Yeah.
going to the retreat, get ready. I'm probably going to send you guys maybe some pre-work ponderings to think about. So keep working to know yourself, know what you love, because we are going to have a lot of good times with all our senses. That's really what every retreat is about. Having fun. Okay. All right.
Have a wonderful.
Thanks
Have a
again.
good day. Enjoy this
Thank
sunny day.
you.
Have a
Okay.
great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Use all the senses.
Mhm.
All right.